passwords,
We have new computers.
three names, three ideas.
I got
Lorraine,
my
you
thought
check
already.
it in case she's on it.
I'm trying to
Ready
look.
and Tabitha's back from vacation. We'll schedule the night where we can be here and bring two or three in, or whoever, one, whatever it is, and see if we're amicable, and then next meeting we'll move forward with it.
That sounds good to me.
I actually talked to Tony Montoya today, and I said, hey, I plant this seed for you, think about it.
Well, and my thought process, thinking about it, we had an election.
Mhm.
We had two for first and second, two spots open. The third place, why not? He had enough votes.
Yep.
He's a good candidate. He knows contracts, he knows money, he knows managing personnel. Why not? I mean, he got enough votes to beat out somebody else. And the town elected him, essentially, they voted for him. Didn't elect him, but they voted for him.
Yeah.
That's my thought process on it.
It's gonna be a short meeting. Hey, that works for me. Freaking Packers are playing. You're lucky I'm here.
And that was our rifle raffle. 6-pack premium.
I would have had what I call Packer fever because we had training tonight.
That's
I'd be
cool.
like, I can't make it. Why? Because I really don't want to. Packers
You
are
good?
playing.
Oh, yeah. Just loaded.
Jason,
Well, the lights are on.
you check YouTube?
Oh,
Who are we gonna pick on now?
must have left my phone at home.
Oh.
Holy cow, are you gonna be all right?
Yeah, right. I can do it from here.
I
Really?
was gonna say, I could
Shouldn't be that long.
call my kid, he watches incessantly. In fact, this last week,
Sarah
he
can
gave
see
me
people
a
moving.
bunch of crap about
Okay, she
it
can
not
see
working.
Yep.
Okay,
You can see us? Oh, gosh.
let's hope it lasts the whole time this time.
There we go.
Pixelate your faces.
There we go. Now it's loading.
I can hear you guys. Okay.
I can hear somebody, yeah. Download an update.
It'd be a little surprising if you did.
It's gotta be on the bottom bar. Where's the bottom bar?
Where is everybody?
It's a Packers game, right, Willie?
Yes.
The last couple meetings we've had a full house.
Yeah, there's nobody that wants to see what we're doing tonight.
Hey, well,
That's
I
not-
get it.
I'm the only
Can't do you. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I'm
Well, thanks for coming.
I'm a two-time shareholder, so if this shows my dedication to the town.
The Packers have the ball.
The
The Packers have the ball.
Oh, do they? I didn't know.
Third and 8.
Switched himself.
Just to make sure you're into the game,
It's
buddy.
not like 3rd and 8 on the 40, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
good man. I got the same thing.
We have our priorities straight this evening.
It's all right.
9 minutes in the second quarter left.
Hey, at least I'm better than some of my firefighters. You know they're watching it, like the game itself. I'm just getting highlights.
You're not even getting highlights.
Yeah, I'm just whatever comes up on like ESPN or whatever, it's just telling you the.
Fire up here. What are we doing? I already test fired here. Well, you were.
I don't know. They're gonna lose anyway, so I don't know why I'm worried about that. But
Well, see, we have another one.
See, Willie, say it and they will come.
Got 1 minute, guys.
We just got a penalty for the lady.
out farm cars.
all week.
Yeah.
Again, at least during the core of the day anyway.
Need some moisture.
Yeah.
This is the longest minute.
Willie?
Yes. I got one from each one, I got one for the employees.
Okay. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take roll.
Councilman Evans?
Here.
Councilman Nixon?
Present.
Councilman Kaufman?
Here.
Councilman Allison? And Mayor Graves.
Here. Councilman Allison has effectively resigned due to health concerns. So currently we have an opening on the governing body for the town of Wheatland. We will follow protocol, and when our clerk treasurer gets off vacation, we'll schedule some time to get together and interview, if you will, a candidate pool of those that have come forward with interest in fulfilling the unexpired term of Councilman Allison.
This is for him, right?
Yep, and that card's for Willie, yes.
Yep, I'll make sure.
You have before you an agenda, I believe as presented. So entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion. So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. Moving on to the consent agenda, and for the purpose of discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve and place to record the consent agenda items.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The discussion on the consent agenda items. I don't think I had any this month that I didn't already talk to
Right.
Lisa about.
I said I came in this morning and she answered my concerns.
They're easy. I like the easy ones.
All right, well, we'll move right along then. All in favor of approving and placing to record the consent agenda items? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. We're to the petitions, memorials, proclamations, and public comment section. And agenda item number 1 is Mr. John Odom.
You'll take the podium.
Take the podium, please.
I'm sure my camera's even worse than me.
Look at there, yeah.
Yeah.
The operator is
Oh,
not,
yeah.
but
Standing right over there to the podium.
Thank you for letting me speak here tonight. I'm gonna start with asking 3 questions of you guys, and then I'll get into why I'm here. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least priority, 10 being top priority, where would you say the priority should be put, or the level of priority on child safety?
I go all the way
It's
to
a high number.
Yeah.
Okay. What about or about your own safety, not adult safety, your own safety?
See,
Yeah.
High level, okay.
I'm fond of my life.
And what about officer safety? What level of priority would you put?
Also high.
Same, yeah.
All those I agree with. So what I'm about to say is not out of ignorance or out of hatred for anybody involved in this. On October 14th, there was an incident in my neighborhood where Wheatland PD was looking for a suspect. That suspect was later found in the home of the yard where my kids were playing. My kids have been playing in the yard with the neighbor kids in the afternoon. Wheatland PD drove by looking for the suspect. I don't know how long they'd been looking for him. I know it started sometime in the afternoon, so there was several hours in there for them to set up safety barriers. Best I can tell, talking with officers I know, as well as the chief of police, no effort was put to prioritize child safety in that situation. I spoke with current and former law enforcement about it and asked them, in this situation, what could have been done or what should have been done. The consensus I received from everyone is if there's children present, especially if we know them, that should be a top priority. Regardless of whether we know the children or not, should be a top priority. But if I know that child, and I know the parents, I would have made sure that I would have said, hey, go home. I know where you live, just go home. When I spoke to PD about it, they informed me that there was no such policy that they had to inform the residents of a neighborhood that they were looking for a suspect. Later on, I put pieces together and doing a little bit of research, found out the suspect they were after was in jail later that week for domestic battery. When I called PD and asked what their policy was, I was informed that they had no obligation to tell the public anything. And when I mentioned that my kids were in the very yard where they later arrested the suspect, I was informed that if they would have told anybody in the neighborhood, that could have potentially led to an unsafe situation for the officers. I would have thought a child's safety would have been priority over an officer's safety. They are sworn to serve and protect the community. Later in that same conversation, I was informed by the chief of PD that there was no chance whatsoever that that suspect would be violent or that the situation would have turned violent. I informed him that I did not believe that was the case. There's no way that you can guarantee when you're looking for a suspect that there's no chance whatsoever of it turning violent. I later got a hold of the policy for Wheatland PD. I wanted to know what the policy said. I didn't have a whole lot of time to go through the entire policy. I was able to glance at it pretty thoroughly, but I wasn't able to sit down and read every single line. I found two spots in the entire policy where it talks about protecting the community. One of them just barely glanced at, protect the community. The other one that stood out to me the most had to do with a fleeing suspect. You're not to engage or shoot at that suspect unless he's causing harm to you or your partner. And I forget how many other instances that were in that section talking about police being safe, police being attacked by said suspect, and needing to put a priority on their safety. And then at the very end it said, I'm paraphrasing, so I cannot remember the exact wording, if it's a threat to the community, then I guess you can do something about it, was the gist of the final little sentence at the end of that section. I have utmost respect for officers. I don't go out of my way to pick on anybody or to cause issues with anybody. But when my kids' safety, in my opinion, is basically pushed aside, that does not sit well with me. I think there needs to be some changes in the policy to prioritize the safety of the public. I have no problem with officers being safe. But when I read through the policy and I only find 2 instances where it talks about the public safety, that's concerning to me. I know lots of former and current law enforcement. I grew up with them in my family. I know how they're trained. I know what they're taught to prioritize. And I feel like it's gotten even worse where the priority has become the officer's safety is more important than anything else. I don't know if that's something that you guys have the final say in addressing and getting it changed, but I think it needs to be a discussion that's had to improve the safety of the community. That's about all I had.
Well, to address one part of what you brought up, as far as a fleeing felon goes, that's covered by a Supreme Court decision of Tennessee v. Gardner.
Understood.
And that is very clear guidance. And I'm sorry, I'm also prior law enforcement and retired military. We had to study all this.
Yes, sir.
So you're well aware of what you're saying. But Tennessee v. Gardner is a very specific law and Supreme Court decision that this goes back to shooting an unarmed fleeing felon, which was a bad thing. So it does put certain criteria that law enforcement has to meet in a fleeing felon scenario. Also posing a threat to the public, immediate threat to the public, kind of covers that as well. And right now, I was not there, obviously. It's easy for a person to sit back and dissect what happened. And I won't do that. I'm not going to sit there and try and dissect everything that took place that day or that event. But looking at the restrictions that the law does place on police officers and on apprehending a person, I've made many apprehensions in this town. The worst case scenario you can ever have happen is a barricaded suspect with hostages. And not knowing what was in that house and not knowing anything else. And you start getting too many things going on, it could very well turn that way, as opposed to a non-violent end of the scenario. Again, I was not there, I don't know, I'm just going off my past. So there's some more things for you to consider as well. And that's all I have to really add to that discussion.
Yeah, and on the surface, I don't disagree or question anything that you said, but I'm seeing it from your perspective. And until you have the opportunity to see it from the officers involved perspective, I can't sit here and say there's anything that I am willing or wanting to rightfully change, just because of hearing your side of the story, so to say. Well, to coin my councilman's, there's 2 sides to every pancake. And now it's very clear what your take is. And if we maybe we'll give the chief the podium here in a minute and let him kind of maybe speak to as much as he can under obligation with a current ongoing case. And that would help give us better reference to continue a dialogue with you, because like I said, from the surface, I certainly don't disagree with anything you said. But I don't know the other side of the story.
And one thing in law enforcement we learned is there's 3 sides to every story.
Well,
his, hers, and the truth. Each one has a different perspective on what occurred. And the job is to find out the truth between all the evidence provided. So like I said, we don't know, we weren't there, but if the chief wants to address any of this.
Yeah, I can stand up.
Would you like to speak? Chief, excuse me, I'll be professional.
I wasn't trying to.
No. It's a good perspective.
So I can address a little bit of what happened. There were 2 officers riding in one vehicle because we had a senior officer FTO training a new officer. They did have a active arrest warrant that they were searching for an individual with. When I received the phone call from Mr. Odom, I did look into the aspect of things. The warrant, or the person that did have the warrant for their arrest, I will say that, please understand my terminology. I'm not trying to downgrade a domestic violence situation. But in the totality of this situation, it was a lower level warrant. It wasn't something that we needed to essentially do like a SWAT call where we had multiple officers out looking for the individual, or there was no threat to, or no threat to the community. The individual that they were looking for did not have any history of violence to law enforcement. They did not have any violence to the community. I understand the domestic battery side of things, but as a totality of the circumstances to the community, this person did not pose a threat to the community. So in a normal situation where we are activating or executing a warrant, as such, we do not typically will address the community of, hey, we're looking for someone. This is, again, it's a lower level. The element of surprise, we do like the element of surprise for us where we're trying to look for someone. It does help keep, again, the public safe with the element of surprise, but it also keeps us safe. And then the other aspect of that, we're not going to sit and tell the community who we're looking for or we're looking for someone, because at that point in time, we don't know who knows who. So we're not going to say, hey, we're looking for so-and-so or we're looking for this, because we don't know if they're going to get a hold of that person and say, hey, they're looking for a warrant, you got a warrant, whatever the case is, they're going to go up hiding. The officers were out driving around. They had information that the person that had the warrant worked at where his place of business was at. They knew where his residence was at. They were told that he walks to and from. So around the time of closing or at the end of his shift, they were keeping an eye out for the individual. We don't typically want to go to the place of business unless we absolutely have to, or the place of employment, and pull him out. Again, it's not something that we will do. I mean, I'm not going to walk into your place of business and take you out of there in handcuffs, and unless I need to do that. I mean, we're going to try to do other aspects of trying to find the individual prior to going down that road. So, I say, yes.
This is a warrant signed by a judge.
Correct.
So the incident was old.
I'm sorry.
The incident of the domestic battery was oldish.
Right.
It was not like it just occurred.
No, it was an incident that took place. I can't tell you the exact time frame from the incident to the time that it was warned or
It was
issued.
not
It was a couple of weeks. A PC affidavit was done by the investigating officer, sent over to the county attorney. They reviewed it, then they sent it over to a judge to have them sign and effectively give us the warrant for the arrest. So I mean, a couple weeks, give or take.
Emotions were not high at the moment, and his emotions wouldn't be expected to be high at the moment.
Not that we had any information.
Because it wasn't like a fresh domestic violence or domestic assault where he was still amped up, and this is a warrant that was old.
The
incident was
incident
older.
The incident, yes, sir.
Okay, and that's what, thank you. I just want to clarify that I asked these questions, Mr. Odom, because when an incident is fresh and people have the emotions running high,
Yes, sir.
it does pose something more. When a PC affidavit is done, a probable cause affidavit, presented before a lawyer, presented to a judge for signature, that's saying these facts had occurred, they find enough reasonable cause, reasonable suspicion, probable cause to issue the warrant, and that takes time to get all that stuff processed. So this guy was not acting right after the incident. You see where I'm going with this?
Oh yeah, I knew it wasn't immediate. I knew enough.
Well, that's where the difference comes into play a lot of times as well. If it's, you know, if I beat a mayor senseless and ran out the door, you know, now it's a different kind of scenario where the police are going to be chasing me and looking for me, where I'm amped up on violence and amped up on adrenaline, as opposed to I beat the snot out of him in the alley.
2 weeks later.
2 weeks later, they come and get me. I'm in my house having a soda, watching TV. I'm not expecting it.
Yes, sir.
And that's where I ask these questions just to get a totality of the circumstances going on. I hope that I understand where I'm coming from. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to
no, I,
say your children are important. What I'm saying is how you respond to different incidents and how you respond to how fresh the incident is also determines a lot of approach by the police officers and how they handle it.
And I will say, at no point are we gonna put the public in any more danger than what's already been in that. I mean, my job, I take a sworn oath that we protect and serve, to the point where I have it tattooed on my arm, protect and serve, okay? We are not gonna put the community in any danger that we don't need. If we see a situation where we need to step it up a little bit and address the public, that, hey, this is what's going on, I mean, absolutely, that's what we're gonna do. But we have to look at every situation, a warrant. We have time to think about it. We have time to look at that person. If this would have been a homicide suspect out of somewhere that is known to carry firearms or poses a high threat to community, absolutely, we're gonna do something. But in a situation, I mean, the officers aren't gonna tell everybody, hey, this is what's going on. We don't want to cause more of a upstir in the community of, hey, the cops are telling me that we gotta stay inside, or whatever the case is. We don't need that type of thing. Again, we will address the situation as it comes, but in the totality of the circumstances and the way the officers handled this, it was the way that we have done it, we've done it, and we will continue to do it. Other question?
Mr. Odom, I wasn't trying to downplay anything for you. I was trying to explain the situation.
I understand.
That's why I've been the guy doing those warrants before. And I've made many warrant arrests in this town, and usually it's like, hey, can you step outside real quick? And we walk away from the house and we go talk. And that's usually how most of them go, because they don't want any more violence or any more incidents on their arrest record.
Given your thought process, about, addressing the policy and maybe changing it to where, you feel it's a better fit, certainly keep that dialect open. I mean, open to suggestions. If you sit down and read it in its entirety and have some thoughts that you would like to share, email, call any one of us, ask us for a workshop and come present, some changes. Or it's not falling on deaf ears, because if we can do it better, absolutely we want to.
I think the biggest issue I had, well, two of them actually. One of them is the officers have been to my neighborhood multiple times, called on my kids by neighbors because my kids were outside playing. My kids and my wife were not strangers to the officers. I get there's 3,500 people in this town. Can't know every single one of them. But they've been called to my house multiple times. So then for them to just not say anything, and then to be told by the chief that officer safety is a priority, yet there was no concern for safety. I mean, you can't be super concerned about safety for officers and then say there was no concern, no chance of it turning violent, so there was no concern for safety. You can't have it both ways. That's my concern. The reason I brought up the section about the fleeing suspect is that's one of two spots I found in the policy that talks about protecting the public.
And again, that falls back on Tennessee v. Garner and Graham versus Connor, are the two Supreme Court decisions that cover those kind of scenarios with use of force with felons.
And my reason for bringing that up was not necessarily per the use of force policy.
Well,
it was only one of the two spots where it talked about public safety, and it was after a mile-long list of protecting the officer, and then to public safety. That was my concern, is there's very little in the policy about protecting.
well,
And
as the mayor said, if you want to take a good look at it, And then, you know, like I told all my department, all the department heads that work for us in the town, you know, you wanna have something to work on, rock on. Write it out, spell it out, and come with facts that we can work with. And by all means, we'll entertain it. We don't know it all, but we do our best to support our constituents and our public, because we work for you guys. So yeah, by all means.
I will add that our policies are under review right now. We're going to a new system. We're in the process of it. But it's taking time. I mean, with everything else that's going on, I can't just sit down and focus on that. It's a lot to take care of, but policies are under review. So if you see something, I am more than welcome to have suggestions, open for stuff. But I mean, in the whole grand scheme of things, our job is public safety. That is community safety. That is our job. So to spell it out in policy of what that means, I mean, that's kind of what the job is public safety. The policies are there to help keep the officers safe and the guidance for us to do our jobs. Our job is public safety. So.
Can I say something? Just, when I am sure that if it was and it sounds terrible, a real serious offense, and I take it seriously too, that individual would have been arrested at the time, and we would have seen a probable cause affidavit the very next morning, and it would have, what probably happened is we got a report. We said, why don't you fill in some of these facts so we know exactly we can probably win this case. And so we do that. I can tell you that the other side of this is when you start pigeonholing everybody with rules and policies, you've taken away from the officers'
Discretion.
judgments calls that they make every day. And like Chief Ott said, our primary goal is public safety. And so you have to take that as the overall policy and say, now we're going to allow them to make judgment calls because that's what they're trained to make. And I can tell you, Chief Ott came over. I didn't see anything wrong with what transpired the day. He didn't give me names. He just told me the facts because I don't deal with the misdemeanor ones in my office. But I did not see anything wrong with what the officers did under the circumstances. And I thought they made a fairly good judgment call under the circumstances.
So other officers that I've spoke to, both current and former law enforcement, who have said, with what I've heard, from my side, at least saying, hey, go ahead and head back to your house, you think that would have been out of line?
I think they acted appropriately, and I'm like Councilman Mixon. There's three sides to this story, and I'm not accusing you this, but sometimes you tell them one fact, and I believe you believed it's absolute, and they look at it this way. And I can tell you, I don't have any problem with this, and I will bet you most officers don't with what they did that day. And if they were my children, it wouldn't have bothered me. I'll be quite frank with you.
So what priority would you put on child safety?
You know, that's a trap. That's a, everybody just told you, everybody is high priority. And so I think that's one of those things, if you say, nah, it's a 1, no. If you say it's a 10, well, then you've trapped them and you absolutely have to do something. And so all I did was tell the council, here's how I viewed it, and Mr. Ott came over, and I told him I thought he made the right call. I don't have any issues with it. And I prosecute these cases, the felonies, all the time.
Chief Tegman.
Yeah, since we're bringing up people, former law enforcement, and half the room's either law enforcement or former law enforcement, I gotta take my turn in the barrel. First of all, I understand your concern because it's your children, it's your flesh and blood. I get it. I understand it. The thing I worry about is exactly what Mr. Weaver talked about, is we're trampling on what's called officer discretion and totality of the circumstance. If you want to talk, where do you put people's safety? It's hostage, innocent, officer, suspect. That is how law enforcement is trained to prioritize the safety of the citizens in which they serve. Hostages are first because they have no control over their situation. Innocents can flee, fight, or they have an option. Then the officers, we have to give them consideration. Suspects create the situation. That's why they're last on the list. So if they're looking to serve a warrant on an individual, first of all, they're going to have a probable cause affidavit to understand the severity of the crime. If it's excessive, they wouldn't just roll up to somebody's house. They would bring, it wouldn't just be, it certainly wouldn't be a trainee in an FTO. So if it was somebody that would go up a threat matrix to put the public at greater harm, then they would bring more resources for it. When they're talking about if the person's coming to or from a place of work and they walked, that's the perfect opportunity. So if I'm driving by and, if I'm driving by, give me my phone, and I see the guy walking down the street, that's a great time to, I don't want to use the term ambush in a clinical term, but that's what it would be. You were taking him by surprise. So if I were going to go up to somebody's house with children playing out in the front yard, if there's a probability for this to go bad, now I've created a bigger problem, okay? So I just pulled quick Google search. So 2025 in Pennsylvania, just in September 17th, 3 police detectives were killed by a barricaded gunman trying to serve an arrest warrant for domestic violence. In Utah, August 17th, 2 officers were killed and ambushed by a gunman. Yep. Some were firefighters actually that were up there. That was domestic violence. Yep. So if you go through the trend of 2025, again, small town, 3,500 people. I've been in the briefing rooms at the police department. They read the national news. They see the YouTube videos. There's police and law enforcement websites where they get to see video cameras of cops getting killed every day on traffic stops or going to domestic violence calls. That's what's going through their head. I know it's sleepy Wheatland, but that's what they're seeing. And then when they walk up to your car, they got to think about that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not mitigating the safety of your children. I want you to think about it this way. So if this person's in the house and the officers go in the front yard and start trying to talk to the kids, start trying to scurry people away, what does that create?
It can create chaos.
It can, well, one, let's say Councilman Mixon is my suspect. He beat up the mayor. I'm going to come to his house to serve a warrant. Your kids are in the front yard. He sees me dealing with your kids. Now, have I lost the element of surprise? Yes, because he's seen me there. Now, does he have a tactical advantage? Yes. Now, are the officers at risk? Yes. Are your children at risk? Yes. Or I can see the situation driving with my field training officer. I can see 3 kids, or I don't know how many children it is, but let's say 3. I see 3 kids playing outside. Hey, better side of valor, we'll fish another day. I'm going to drive right by. And I'll wait till he leaves work and I'll get him at a different time. Mm-hmm. Because when we talk about use of force, Tennessee v. Gardner, that was back in the 60s. That's someone running over a fence and shooting somebody in the back. That's not really what we're talking about here. But when we talk about the use of force scale, officer presence is number 1.
Graham versus Connor.
Yep, Graham versus Connor. So me just showing up as Chief Ott just showing up as a police officer, that's authority right there. That is actual use of force. That is on the scale. That's number 1. Mm-hmm. Then it's verbal. Then it's hands-on, or implement tools. Then hands-on. Then we go to firearms. So.
Less lethal firearms.
Yeah, less lethal.
Sorry.
So I would actually say the officer driving by did the best thing in the interest of the safety of your kids. So I see your point where maybe later they could say, hey, I don't want you, hey, you might not want to let your kids go over there, but I don't know if you're friends with that guy. And then you go over and tell Joey Bag of Donuts, hey, cops are looking for you. They got a warrant for you.
I'll bring him a gun.
Yeah. So I understand your point, and maybe the officer's saying, okay, officer safety is, I don't think he's prioritizing it over your children. It's just saying it's an officer safety concern. Because if I'm dealing with the kids, I don't know, even though the action of whatever the charges are, people do weird things, dude. It's just, you don't know what people are gonna do, especially under strenuous circumstances of going to jail. And if he sees me dealing with your kids, and he's like, hey, guess what? Joey ain't going to jail tonight. And I'm gonna fight my way out of this. Who created that? The officer did by dealing with, trying to get your kids out of the way, where their intentions were purely honorable. But he could say, you know what? This is an opportunity to go south. I'm gonna drive by, we'll fish another day. And we'll get him when he's walking home from work or something like that. Is that,
I agree with what you're saying. There's other steps that could have been taken in this situation. One of the officers I knew personally.
okay,
He knew me, knew my kids, knew where I lived.
Mhm.
I spoke to him as he was leaving the neighborhood and was told all good.
okay,
Could have texted me saying, hey, just maybe keep an eye on your kids. That's all that would have had to have been said. The officer did not have to step out of the car if that would have been causing a bigger problem by being out in the yard. There's ways around that to say, hey, you know, maybe keep an eye on your kids, pull them into your yard or something. It would have been real simple for me to walk out there and say, hey guys, time to go ahead and come in.
okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. He could have done that. I don't think he's delinquent in not doing it.
I didn't say he was delinquent.
Well, but, we're here talking about it, so I mean, that's,
There's other ways around stepping into the yard and causing that scene.
Yeah.
And if you,
but if the officer's just deciding to say, hey, we're gonna call this a wash, and we're just gonna move on.
This covers veterans.
I mean, then nobody knows what's going on. And then nobody's the wiser. So he's just a cop car driving by. And then they just deal with them at a later date.
If you're okay with that.
I get your point. I'm just saying a different way of looking at it. I see your point, and I get it because it's your kids. I would just think the officer may be thinking about it as a fact that he may be creating a worse situation by getting out and contacting everybody. There's the potential for that. So he was probably trying to do the right thing. And there's different way to skin a cat. So I understand you're gonna see it a certain way because it's your kids. I get it. But I would venture to say that there's absolutely no chance that this officer would leave your kids in harm's way, especially if he's a friend of yours. I mean, do you think he would have your kids' interest in mind?
Right here.
prior to this, yes. Now, I honestly don't know.
Well,
Because of other things that have happened, because of my concern, I don't know that that officer would anymore.
well, I think that's something for you and him to sit and talk about.
I wish we could.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, I can go ahead and read through that policy some more and
That'd be the best, and also take into consideration, there's a lot of training law enforcement goes through as far as use of force and apprehensions. Because anytime we apprehend, it is a use of force. I'm sorry, not we, they. Remove. Anytime they do an apprehension of anything, it's a use of force. The traffic stop is use of force. So anything they do balances from Graham versus Connor as well. So please do your research into those two Supreme Court decisions and take that into consideration when you look at the policies as well, please. That makes sense?
yes, sir.
Rock on. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for, I mean, it's not easy to get up there and speak and convey concerns and thoughts, and I applaud you for that. And that's how you strike out to change for the betterment of everybody involved. And it opens a dialogue, and I appreciate your due diligence in following through with something that's near and dear to you. That's important as a citizen to feel transparent enough to be able to do that. And sometimes it's tough to get up there at that podium and speak your piece, if you will. So I applaud you and thank you for taking the time.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening.
Absolutely.
Is there any other public comment at this time under this tab that we're on in the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to unfinished business item number 1, which is the settlement agreement for ECI.
You should have an updated one that you got today.
Right.
We had some language problems in the whereases.
In the lawyer speak,
Well,
Legalese.
They wanted to do some stuff with the ECI's failure to timely complete, and I said, that's what happened here. And they wanted to soft shoe that, and so, it comes out to the $207,500. There's some deadlines. They really have to wait for the bankruptcy court for anybody to appeal. So I would ask that you authorize the mayor to execute the agreement, and then when everybody's signed, we'll send the money up after the 14-day appeal process.
I'll make a motion to empower the mayor to sign that agreement with ECI. Settlement agreement with ECI.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. Unfinished business item number 2 is the dispatch agreement, which you also have in front of you.
I'll make a motion to approve the dispatch agreement, if that's what you're after.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is there further discussion?
No, if I just answer my own question right then.
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. Moving on to new business item number 1, which is the ratification of the motion for the Chugwater Energy Project MOU with the county. We agreed, I guess, in principle. We just need to make it official, correct?
Well, I think there were some deadlines, and so you had to execute it on behalf of the town. And so now the council, I would ask that they ratify your action and approve the memorandum of understanding that you execute. I can't even remember the date you signed it, but I don't either. So you just need a move to ratify the memorandum of understanding for industrial siding, Chugwater Energy Project. I'm sorry.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? I think you probably answered that further discussion there. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And now we have a property insurance from Will DeRike.
So he's not here, but the wind and hail damage it was at 2% of total property. It went down to 1% of total property. So it's kind of nice. something does happen
Yeah, well,
around here.
if we keep some clean weather years to keep it there.
Yeah.
Now that we're out of hail season.
Yeah.
We live in the desert now, so. it's not like-
The bottom line is not a huge substantial change, which was,
Five from last year? I'll make a motion to approve, the property insurance from Wildrak Boards and Agency.
And second.
it's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. New business item number 3 is the volunteerism policy.
Just to make it clear what I told Tabitha a minute ago. On the letter, on the following guidelines of town employees who serve as volunteers, where it should be, where it says C19, it should be 503 C19 as well. That's 503, that's 501c3. And for clarification, a C19 is also a nonprofit for veteran programs, So just one more, it's very similar as of C3, it's just very specific to veteran programs.
So we just need to change the,
Just a small penalty change for that one sentence is all I had. Or a retype of it, but essentially,
I'll make a motion to approve the volunteerism policy with the changes we just made.
Right second.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. And with that, the only announcement would be is the next scheduled meeting is December 8th at 7 o'clock right here in the council chambers, and we will adjourn the meeting.
Barring any workshops or.
Wouldn't that be still 0-0? Would welcome it though.
Like a record here lately.
It's that first.